Well, happy President's Day. Hopefully it's a good one for you. You don't have to work. Kids are off for school. Traffic's going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. It's a great celebration. At the end of today, at the end of the podcast today, we'll go through a little YouGov poll they did and how Americans see various presidents throughout history. It's exactly as you would have imagined. Republicans think this. Democrats think this. It's just where we are. Whatever. A lot of other stuff to talk about, including it's not all just heavy news crap. In fact, I would like to start off with some sports items. Is NASCAR back? NASCAR, that's right. Daytona 500 was yesterday. The great American race. I am still surprised that throughout all of the sports shutdowns, empty stadiums, during the COVID era, we're all trying to forget. I thought NASCAR, because of the nature of what it is, you don't need people in the stands, even though it's better, should have been the biggest sport to gain throughout that whole period. And they just didn't. And the past couple of years, I didn't hear anybody talking about NASCAR. Maybe they will after this one, because a iconic American sports star, his team won the Daytona 500 yesterday. We'll talk about that as well. Hillary exposed on the big stage. Sure, we'll get to that. An amazing job. Nobody, as you know, criticizes mainstream media more than me. I dare you to find anybody that does. Anybody. But I'm going to give full credit to 60 Minutes of what they put on CBS for what they put on 60 Minutes last night, exposing our poisoned food, because it was incredible. We'll get to all the... Oh, and also... those cheating Canadians. We'll talk about that, too. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio live stream. A little tougher these days because, as I said yesterday, and it is confirmed, everybody is saying it, Elon, get on this, is squashing live streams. But you can still find the podcast on YouTube and Facebook and the audio podcast as well, wherever you like to get them. Let's get right to it, right here, right now, and I'm going to start off with some sports. It's always the debate whether auto racing is a sport, but I say it is. Regardless, we need NASCAR to be back, even if you're not a fan. Doesn't matter. It's an iconic American tradition, and the Great American Race was just yesterday, and it was a great finish. I'll play a little bit here. I'm not going to play the whole thing for the finish, but it was pretty epic, and the guy whose team won matters.
Wall goes Herbst, and Tyler Reddick comes to the line.
Wow.
A shower of sparks behind him. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Didn't really hear of him all day long until the last lap.
Well, you heard of him now because the guy who's the team owner of Tyler Reddick's team and some other cars is none other than Michael Jordan. That's right. Famous basketball player, famous entrepreneur. He has owned a NASCAR team for quite a number of years, but it's more than that, though. Heck of a day for him, because he had apparently sued NASCAR just recently and won his lawsuit, in a settlement kind of deal. And it's right before his birthday, too, I guess, this week. Sued NASCAR, and apparently it was all over how the sport is promoted. Remember I was saying NASCAR should have been bigger? It's just fallen off like the face of the planet. F1 is getting more attention than NASCAR is, and we need it in American culture. We need NASCAR, even if you're not from the South. Even if it's not something you grew up with. I didn't either. We need it. Americans traditionally love to race anything and everything. And our culture is better when NASCAR is prominent. And I think this is going a long way towards doing that. When a guy like Michael Jordan can promote his team and they get bigger and he gets attention for this, and it is getting a lot of attention, this particular race, much more so than the past couple of years, I say good. I think it's a good thing. All right, let's get into news now. Now, ordinarily, and I didn't even plan it this time until this weekend when I was looking at some of the clips. Ordinarily, I would never, ever throw at you something like the Munich Security Summit. Because why? What have we been conditioned to believe about things like this? International stage, and you have all the globalists up there talking about how America's bad, and we need to become global citizens, and, all this other crap, and that's why we turned away from it. Things are way, way different this time. Now, they tried that. They certainly tried that. But we have a different voice these days. You might have seen clips from the Marco Rubio speech, which was outstanding. It wasn't just one of the best speeches, wouldn't play the whole thing for you, don't worry about that, I've ever heard. The timing of it was absolutely incredible. But it was something more than that. This pushback against globalism in the American, economy is catching on to other nations too. First and foremost, just here's a little piece of Marco Rubio. This was out. Is he not the most improved player of this administration? It was amazing.
But the euphoria of this triumph led us to a dangerous delusion that we had entered, quote, the end of history, that every nation would now be a liberal democracy, that the ties formed by trade and by commerce alone would now replace nationhood, that the rules-based global order, an overused term, would now replace the national interest, and that we would now live in a world without borders where everyone became a citizen of the world. This was a foolish idea.
I wouldn't play the whole speech for you, but if you ever have time to listen to the entire thing and pay attention to the reaction, I promise you it's worth your time. I know. I'm not normally somebody that would recommend speeches to you. This was a turning moment. This was a changing, an inflection point in how this is handled as America pushes back. But here's the thing. It's not just coming from us these days. There are other nations, not all of them. So not France, not England, God knows. Not all of them. But there is pushback to this whole agenda and globalist idea before, instead of individual nations being their own best and coming together. No, there's pushback to that now. Hillary Clinton was on there. That's right. Over there pushing her agenda and how Trump is all bad and he's terrible and he's just out of control and what he's doing to our country back home is terrible. None other than a Czechoslovakian representative pushed back on her and absolutely just buried her.
Well, first, I think you really don't like him.
You know, that is absolutely true. But I really, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
What I think Trump is doing in America, I think it is reaction for something that, for some policies that really went too far from the regular people, too far from reality. So, you know, we saw the cancel culture. We saw the woke revolution. I don't agree with the gender revolution, the climate alarmism.
Which gender? Women having their rights?
No, let me.
There he was, calmly, very, very efficiently taking down her argument. And what is she doing there? What is she doing? Rolling her eyes. And what's the common, you know, the classic pushback? What? Women have no rights? Who's saying that? All of this got exposed. All of this crap that finally made its way, the wokeism and the open borders and the globalism and all this crap in American culture. We got it last, but I think we're the first to push back on it. And thank God for that. And now that common sense is spreading to other countries. She got absolutely buried in that debate. And all she had were more insults. That's all she had. Now, why is she even there? Why is she there? Is it like a last stand defense? Because, oh God, creepy Bill is getting exposed in these Epstein files. All of her policies are getting exposed. All of this nonsense. Her ilk and that kind of political monster that she is, and they are going away. Going away. And it starts with that whole concept of everything they pushed globally onto us in our country is going away. And other countries like Czechoslovakia, and they weren't the only one, they're pushing back on it now, and it's fantastic to see. I love it. Again, not the most exciting thing in the world to talk about, the Munich Security Conference, but if you have time later on, get a sense for how different this is these days. It's great news. It's fantastic. Speaking of fantastic news, and I think you know me by now, I dare you, I mean this. Find me anybody, radio world, podcasting world, TV world, that pushes back on mainstream media like I do. I've done it for years. I've exposed it, but I'll be the first to give credit to CBS. That's right, CBS. Maybe that new leadership is taking hold. I don't know. And 60 Minutes, their main information product that they push on us, for the piece they did last night. It wasn't all 100% great, but just discussing the topic of our poison food supply, to me, was fantastic. So what they did was, did a big feature on, of course, Bobby Kennedy Jr. with, Make America Healthy Again, obviously. But they also did a deep dive into the FDA and their lack of ability to even control what goes into our food supply on this. But the way they did it was they also talked to a former FDA commissioner and the balance that they both come up with and what they've discovered on this. And this is an amazing piece, and I give them full credit for this.
There is no way for any American to know if a product is safe if it is ultra-processed.
It's hard to find two people who disagree more on health policy than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and former FDA Commissioner David Kessler, but they have found common ground over a common culprit: ultra-processed food. How does this compare with tobacco?
It's as large, if not larger.
This is why I think this was such a good piece, and this is what real journalism could be. This is why we all need this kind of stuff. We've all heard it for years. Years. A lot more recently, sure. But we've all heard about ultra-processed food and why they're so bad. We've all heard this. You've all heard it in common conversation, everything, right? Seed oils, ultra-processed food, everything. When was the last time you saw any news program do a deep dive into why it's so bad and why we've been so exposed to this crap? And I give him credit. 60 Minutes last night not only talked to Bobby Kennedy, but also the former Commissioner Kessler to talk about, as he's been working on this. And what they found was they don't have the ability, the FDA that is, they have not had the ability to actually look into this stuff. It's been, the food industry has been so powerful, and I'm sure the pharmaceutical industry is part of this too, has been so powerful, they've been self-regulated. I'm not a big regulation kind of guy. I don't think you are either. But when you have an industry that big that self-regulates itself, you really think they're going to not choose profits over health safety for the American citizens? Because they don't care. And that's exactly what's been happening. They have not had this ability to look at this. I, just a couple of minutes ago, was criticizing the European mindset. But good for them, because years ago, they went through this too, and they stopped it. And then they stopped. If you know somebody who's celiac, right, who can't eat the wheat in our country, who's gone through this, and why is everybody gluten-free now? Why is this? It's just a trend. It's so annoying. No, it's because of this poison food supply. I can tell you directly and personally why that is. People who are celiac in our country, and you can find them if you ask them, can eat stuff in Europe that doesn't affect them. Why is that? It's because we have absolutely no oversight into the food that's being pushed on us. And it goes beyond that. I talked about this the last time Bobby Kennedy was making a speech or as a big interview or something. I think it's worth a question. If we know that our food supply is poisoned this badly, what are the other kind of problems it leads to? How about the behavioral problems, right? What if you ate just absolute junk? And you can look at any family, doesn't matter, socioeconomic status, whatever it is. Look at any family, and just the next time you're in Target, Walmart, Publix, wherever you like to shop, just take a look. Just kind of glance down, but don't be obnoxious about it. Just take a look at like some of the stuff that's in the cart. The sugar and the ultra-processed crap and the garbage we're actually feeding ourselves because it's convenient and it's cheap. When you can get convenient and cheap together, it's a win-win. And that's why the food industry did that. What about all the problems? Not just behavioral problems. How about if you were fed a lifetime of that crap, right? If they ever dared to do a study, how many hardened criminals that are maybe on death row right now, maybe you were affected by the food. Well, that's crazy, Bill. There are a lot of other factors. Oh, I know. I get it. But why are we ignoring food? If you fed garbage into your body for decades, that's not going to affect behavior? Of course it does. Of course it does. I hope they don't overregulate. I hope they don't. But what got exposed last night, and again, this is why I actually congratulate 60 Minutes for doing a real piece. This was real investigative journalism. What we're finding out, most of us, me too, I'm in that boat too, finding out that there was there was zero regulation of food. Now, simple stuff, they put food labels on. We all remember the food pyramid, all that crap. Sure, whatever. I mean real regulation and what they're putting in there. Who knew? Who knew about this? I sure didn't. No, that's for sure. All right, let's get to something more fun. Those cheating Canadians. I haven't watched a lot of the Olympics, but there is the whole thing about the curling cheating scandal. Not only the men's team, but the women's team too. Did you see this? All right, here's the thing, and I couldn't edit this out quickly enough in time, so there's an F-bomb to start off with this. What makes it worse, you might have heard about this. What makes it worse is the Canadian curler. We all know curling now. We're fascinated by it because it's got to be a drunk guy sport, right? Where he did the stone here, but he pushed it over the green line. He was caught dead to rights doing this, but he protested so much that it just makes him look absolutely ridiculous when they finally caught him. But this is when he was swearing.
Fuck off.
You haven't done it once?
I haven't done it once.
Okay. I'll show you a video after the game.
it just looks stupid. Now, no one would have paid attention if it was too close to call or resist. It was absolutely clear as day that he was pushing his finger past the line, and he didn't let that. So him dropping an F-bomb at the other guy, at the Swede curler team, he just looks like an absolute buffoon, right? Who knew curling was so controversial? But now we got something else to talk about. So it's not only the men's team. It wasn't only a one-off. Maybe they're teaching this. Maybe these Canadians aren't so nice as we've been led to believe all these years, because apparently now it happened with the women's team too.
Okay, I like it. Clean it. You're saying she touched the rock.
If it's touched, it's going to be removed.
That when you let go?
0% chance.
Come on.
Another angle?
I've never done it in my life.
No, there's nothing to do
You
about
can
it.
see your finger as it comes off.
And what makes it so classic is they protest so. You know that old expression, "Thou doth protesteth too much," makes you look guilty. I didn't do anything. And the first guy dropping an F-bomb. And then they show a video replay as if they're not going to catch that with the super slow-mo, high HD cameras that they have with the Olympics now. So they both got caught. What gets me, though, is the statement, too, and let's see if I can find it real quick, from the Canadian Olympic team. I don't know about these Canadians. You know, maybe they weren't so nice as we were led to believe. Because the statement is, first of all, so Canadian, and it's also just, it's a lack of responsibility. So it's long. I'm not going to say the whole thing. Yesterday's men's curling match between this was even before the women's match, where they got caught too, was highly competitive, showcasing the passion, commitment to both teams, blah, 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 blah. Canadian men's team also received a verbal warning for language, as if that's the main violation. We want to reaffirm that Curling Canada, can you buy shirts, is fully supports fair play, respects, and no apology, no anything after getting caught red-handed. And this is Team Canada. The Winter Olympics are massive in Canada. We know about hockey, but all the sports, all of them, downhill skiing, slaloms, everything. And no apology, no nothing, no sorry, eh? We'll try to be better next time. Nothing? I wonder why they're slipping deeper and deeper into socialism. No responsibility. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's the Olympics. By the way, but have you noticed also, and again, I haven't paid a lot of attention to the Winter Olympics this year, but every time I tune in, now I see curling. Is that just happenstance? Is NBC deciding to show this because it's top of mind now? It's a trending news story. More and more people are fascinated by curling. These cheating incidents by the Canadians are probably the best thing that's ever happened to the sport of curling. Controversy wins. So, not saying they designed it that way, but I think there's a reason why you see curling on your TV all the time now. Besides the fact that it's amazing because drunk guys can play that sport. Anyway, thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Through all the frustrations for X squashing live streams, cut it out, Elon. But you can also find it on the replay on here on X and on Facebook and on YouTube. And also the audio podcast, growing and growing. Maybe because it's not seen on X. I don't know. But you can find that wherever you get your podcasts as well. Thanks for finding me. And the live stream rolls on Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, right here in all these channels. It's only Monday. It's President's Day. Oh, by the way, let me throw this in here. Who's the most popular American president in all history of all time? Well, to do that, you have to do this. And this is classic. YouGov did a small little sample size of our favorite presidents, right? It's exactly what you would think, because of course it divides between Democrats and Republicans. The poll says Republicans. Donald Trump, one of the best ever. Behind Lincoln, Washington, Ronald Reagan. What do you think the Democrats said? Barack Obama, one of the best presidents we've ever had. Higher than Lincoln, JFK, and FDR. Republicans called him the second worst. But they all agree that they didn't like Nixon. Got some bad press. I don't know. All right, thanks for finding me. Making a wicked awesome Monday, a wicked awesome President's Day. I hope you had the day off. I'll talk to you tomorrow.